Honestly, when I read the research paper, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. A new form of creatine that is 8.5 times more effective than creatine monohydrate. I put my hand up and I was like, sign me up straight away. I was absolutely blown away by the research on this new form of creatine, which I am super excited to be sharing with you guys today. So in this video, what I'm going to do is actually look at a new form of creatine that is 8.5 times more effective than creatine monohydrate. Now, just remember that creatine monohydrate is perhaps one of the most researched ingredients in the gym supplement market. And there are many different forms of creatine on the market. And most people know that creatine monohydrate is the gold standard creatine compared to other forms like creatine ethyl ester, creatine hydrochloride, buffered creatine, liquid creatine, creatine magnesium chelate, and crealkaline. But this new form of creatine that I'm about to share with you today is going to completely blow your mind. Just for reference, your creatine monohydrate that you're using now is probably degraded. Now, creatine is a hygroscopic substance, which indicates that creatine powder tends to absorb moisture from the air. Now, as a consequence, over time, creatine turns into its inactive form, creatinine, which does not have an ergogenic effect as creatine does. So if you're using creatine monohydrate powder from a random supplement bottle without an airtight lid, there's a pretty good chance that you may not be responding to your creatine monohydrate because it's probably degraded and is not reaching its fullest potential as far as potency. What I'm really excited to share with you today is this new form of creatine known as CreGAAtine. That's CreGAAtine, CreGAAtine, which, by the way, you will be seeing CreGAAtine linked down below in the video description. That will be based on different locations. So there will be a US vendor, EU supplier, and an Australian distributor as well, which you can use the discount code Lucas to save 10%. In addition, if you want to learn more about CreGAAtine and go into the finer details, you will be able to find that on my website, ergogenic.health. Now, here are the key facts you need to know about this form of creatine. First of all, it is 8.5 times more effective than creatine monohydrate. It also has no water retention, which is one of the biggest drawbacks associated with creatine monohydrate. There are no non-responders. It has 4 ways to enter the cell, results in 3.9 times more creatine in the gray matter of the brain and 1.9 times more creatine in the white matter of the brain. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with the latest research on creatine monohydrate as far as it improving various aspects of cognitive function, staving off cognitive decline, improving memory performance. Well, this new form of creatine not only is more effective at getting into muscle cells, but it's also has a better ability to actually penetrate the blood-brain barrier, build up in the gray matter of the brain, and also the white matter of the brain as well. So what exactly is CreGAAtine? Now, CreGAAtine is a unique proprietary formula based on creatine that also contains its precursor GAA, which is guanidinoacetic acid. Now, CreGAAtine is a novel, scientifically proven dietary supplement made up of creatine and GAA, which is a natural organic compound that acts as a direct precursor of creatine. So this is where it gets really interesting. A lot of supplements on the market, many new updated versions of different supplements tend to either look at the precursors or the metabolites. And in this case, we're seeing creatine's major precursor, which is GAA, combined with creatine itself. That combination there creates a much more potent synergistic effect and a more effective version of creatine. Now, this form of CreGAAtine or CreGAAtine itself was developed and delivered by Applied Bioenergetic Lab and Carnomeda in Serbia. So most of the research is actually conducted in Serbia, and most of the professors are actually based in Serbia itself. So what are the major applications of this new form of creatine? Obviously, improving athletic and sports performance would be number one. Number two is building muscle. Number 3 would be enhancing mental sharpness. Number 4, a nootropic effect. It can reduce fatigue. It can accelerate recovery and also enhance strength. So we can see that CreGAAtine has some very broad spectrum benefits within the human body. Now, you're probably wanting to know a little bit about who can benefit from CreGAAtine. Now, anyone that can or has seen benefit from creatine monohydrate will likely see even greater benefits with CreGAAtine. I guess people that are looking for an alternative to GEA or anabolic steroids, in a sense that it's a natural compound or a combination of two ingredients put together synergistically that can potentially be as an alternative to those looking for, instead of using anabolic steroids, they can utilize this natural form that may have some similar effects as far as muscle growth. Not to the same level, obviously, but still somewhat decent for a natural supplement. Also, in addition, for people looking to improve mental performance, people looking to accelerate muscle recovery, for people looking to build muscle, extend lifespan, and also improve physical fitness. So we can see here the muscle creatine content changes after 4 weeks. That creatine monohydrate itself only results in a 2% increase in muscle creatine stores, whereas CreGAAtine results in a 16.9% increase in muscle creatine stores. In addition, we can see here the changes in white matter creatine content after 4 weeks. That CreGAAtine resulted in an increase in creatine level in the white matter by 14%, whereas regular creatine only resulted in an increase in 7.5%. So this new version of creatine is, honestly, it's like creatine monohydrate's older brother in that it's much more effective, has 4 ways to enter the cell, which I'm about to share with you, and has less side effects as well. So you're probably wanting to know a little bit about what makes CreGAAtine far superior to creatine monohydrate. Well, CreGAAtine has 4 ways to enter the cell, and CreGAAtine not only uses the regular creatine receptors, but it also utilizes 3 additional pathways in order to enter the cell, including GABA and taurine receptors, and even passive diffusion, which does not require any protein carrier. Now, once it enters the cell, GAA turns into creatine in a GAMT controlled catalytic reaction and increases intracellular creatine levels. In addition, CreGAAtine ensures the desired boost as there are less non-responders in contrast to regular creatine. This is something that we see a number of people complain about with regular creatine monohydrate, is that some people complain that they just don't feel the effects of creatine monohydrate even after, let's say, 6 or 8 weeks of usage. Some people say they just don't notice the strength gains, the muscle growth, the recovery, the athletic performance. But with CreGAAtine, there are less non-responders. And as creatine receptors in the brain and muscles are close to being saturated with endogenous creatine under physiological conditions, the advantage of GAA to utilize additional transport systems creates an effective strategy to overcome limited exogenous creatine utilization and meet advanced energetical needs in an exhaustive workout. So we can see that this GAA component of this creatine utilizes different pathways to actually enter the cell, which probably explains why it's so much more effective than creatine monohydrate. Now, CreGAAtine targets the weaker muscle groups as well and increases their strength by 20% compared to creatine monohydrate. Now, a study on 48 athletes, both men and women, demonstrated that this novel dietary agent and creatine precursor significantly improves both upper and lower body muscle endurance. Now, the combination of GAA and creatine is of particular interest due to the possible synergism between these two substances. Now, GAA was shown to target the muscle groups with the lower levels of strength, which are muscles of the upper body in the general population, and the facilitation of the GAA absorption by the exercise-naive tissues may be explained by their tendency to better absorb GAA, as the GAA levels are initially lower in these compartments. So as far as CreGAAtine dosages, we're looking at the recommended dosage is actually 2 sachets a day. So 1 sachet twice a day with meals, or can be used before and after a workout. And if the recommended dosage is followed, it is actually not necessary to take a break from supplementation. In general, that's what's recommended. My overall stance on all supplements is to always take a break no matter what you're supplementing with. And this is just to, give your body a chance to reset. 2 to 3 weeks off is my general strategy and approach with most, about 99% of supplements. And what I want to also outline here is the unique packaging of this form of creatine. As I said before, with bulk powdered creatine, even Ziploc bags or even in supplement bottles, creatine products actually tend to lose their potency by up to 50% over time. As I said, the creatine is hygroscopic, which means that it can easily soak up water. And the single dose packaging of CreGAAtine not only ensures optimal bioavailability and stability, but also gives you the actual convenience of taking a single dose with you on the go. And as you can see, the CreGAAtine comes in an innovative package, which is a pharmaceutical grade triplex foil sachet, which was designed to provide the maximum protection from moisture and to prevent creatine degradation. So the actual CreGAAtine powder inside the sachet remains intact, which is reflected in its fine granulation once the sachet is actually opened. So I do want to also share what else I use in conjunction with CreGAAtine. Now, I have been experimenting with adding additional ingredients to CreGAAtine itself to give me an even bigger boost in the gym. I did start using CreGAAtine immediately after I got back from Europe, which would have been in September last year. By the time this video will have been released, I think it'll be 3 months into CreGAAtine usage. I did stop just because I had so many other things going on and I was trialing different supplements. Some of the most obvious effects that I noticed were, first of all, the most obvious effect was actually increased vivid dreams. So I noticed much more pronounced vivid dreams when I was using CreGAAtine. And this is something I've noticed with other nootropics. Compounds that can improve memory performance tend to actually increase dream recall for me and vivid dreams. As far as strength goes, in the last 2 to 3 months, my physique, I think I have put on a little bit of muscle. I've put on a little bit of size. I'm currently weighing at 81.5 kilograms and I'm 180 centimeters in height. Obviously, it's not going to affect height at all. If this supplement could increase height, that would be absolutely crazy, phenomenal. But as far as the general physique and strength gains, my strength, hard to say whether or not it's had a very dramatic effect on my overall strength. I have signed up to a new gym and I've moved to a new location. And so I've been testing out new machines and different equipment. But I do say that I'd love to think that I've gotten stronger and I feel stronger. But for me, anything that can improve overall endurance, stamina, have a nootropic effect is highly appealing to me. So if you do want to find out more about some of the other ingredients that I've been experimenting with and trialing, please do yourself a favor and sign up to my free newsletter that will also be linked down below where you can purchase CreGAAtine, where I drop different health hacks that I'm experimenting with and playing around with different ingredients, so you can check that out. As far as side effects and safety profile, well, as with all creatine products, it is important to stay well hydrated with water and electrolytes. So this is the other critical point I forgot to mention previously, is that you need to really make sure that you're hydrating sufficiently when you're using this form of creatine. Now, in addition, in a randomized double-blind controlled trial examining GAA creatine formulation, no side effects were reported, and total plasma homocysteine levels remained within the physiological range, as well as tissue choline levels. So if you do some research online, you may come across some research suggesting that the GAA portion may increase homocysteine levels, which is not something we want to be increasing. But this double-blind placebo-controlled trial actually demonstrated that plasma homocysteine levels actually stayed within the healthy range. So that pretty much wraps up the video on CreGAAtine, this new form of creatine. I truly do think this will be the biggest and most utilized form of creatine on the market in 2023. If you do want to try this form of creatine, make sure you purchase down below in the video description. That will help to support my channel, obviously. And there is a discount code Lucas that will save you 10% off your order. And as always, let's get a discussion going down below in the comment section. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to wrap up today's video and I'll see you guys shortly.